don't get no justice,
you don't get no peace.
We don't get no justice,
You don't get no peace.
That it needs to go deeper than that, and that the culture change needs to happen. And in order for the culture to really change, then it has to come from the top. And we feel like, unfortunately, some of the leadership in human resources, I guess the top person, Micki Callahan, just has not been able to get it done. And it's gotten worse under her leadership. And I don't know, I don't hold that personally against her, but that's the facts.
Okay, and you're hoping that today's rally and testifying today in front of the Board of Supervisors is going to help?
We're hoping that it will help. We hope we get the attention of the supervisors and the mayor. Some of the supervisors have helped me in the past when I brought up bullying as an issue, because that's another major problem that's happening. And so it's our hope that we can come up with some real systemic fixes that can permanently end this. Because in a city like San Francisco, one of the most progressive cities in the country, we have to not put our blinders on and act as if some of the same things that are happening in other places aren't happening here, because they are.
Well, good luck testifying today.
Thank you very much
for joining us here on Cron 4.
Thank you for coming out.
Yeah, thank you. And that
All right.
rally.
It's discrimination. People have been unfairly disciplined.
Do managers know about this? Department of Human Resources, Micki Callahan, are they aware of this systemic discrimination?
They're definitely aware of it. Labor Relations is definitely aware of it. We bring our cases. Me as a shop steward, I represent these members all day, every day. It seems like our members they want to take them and just go straight to discipline or termination. The managers aren't held accountable. I have one in my department right now that has physically removed a chair from under a member, and that manager is still there. That manager has been overheard, and it's been reported to Labor Relations making racial comments about our staff and our employees, and that manager is still there.
And the mayor, London Breed, has said that there is discrimination. She's going to hire some people to investigate it. You think there has to be more accountability of these managers? If they're doing physical attacks on members, shouldn't they be held accountable?
They definitely need to be held accountable. If that was one of us or one of our members, they definitely would have been suspended by now. She hasn't had any suspensions. I don't even know if there's a written warning. And as us being union members, we don't have access to look into their personnel files to see if they're actually properly being disciplined. But yeah, it definitely needs to be some action. And none of these managers or even these employees in labor relations or in HR are being held accountable. So that's why we're here at City Hall, to ask the Board of Supervisors and London Breed especially to step in and help us fight what the city and county deserves, especially the employees, as we're serving the public.
Now, the city has paid out millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars, for discrimination, for illegal bullying of workers. I mean, it seems like an unlimited amount of money. You think that when the supervisors vote for that, and nothing happens to the people who are carrying out these illegal activities, is that a problem?
That's definitely a problem. That means that that's misuse of funds. That means that they're not properly auditing and checking on the status of where the funds are going and what the disciplines and what the actions are being taken. So somebody's dropped the ball somewhere, and somebody needs to be held accountable, because it's starting to affect millions and thousands of employees, and we're losing good workers.
Is this part of what is ethnic cleansing? I mean, to get rid of minorities in San Francisco?
This is what we call white racism. Definitely it's ethnic cleansing in a silent way. They're not going to say it, but it definitely is. I mean, if you do an audit and we have numbers to show the statistics of where there's lack of color and diversity within the departments, and management definitely is number one.
And this has apparently been going on for decades.
And that's what I heard. And we have a letter showing how long it's been going on from a supervisor that came for this same fight. It looks like probably maybe 2 decades ago. We'll definitely have more information on that, but we'll submit you a copy of that. But we've been fighting for this same thing for at least 2 decades.
Now, are the managers who are involved in supervising the employees and carrying out some of these illegal activities going to be here today to be questioned by the supervisors?
That's a good question. I hope so. I hope somebody's going to be here to be questioned. I know we did submit questions to the Board of Supervisors, so they'll definitely be answering some questions. But yeah, I hope to see some of them here.
Now, this is the first time this kind of hearing has been held in the city and county of San Francisco. Why is it happening now?
I think everybody just got frustrated, and you know what? Sometimes you have to cut up to get to where you need to get to make action, and that's how we ended up here today. Sometimes you have to go above the rankings and do what you got to do to make everything right for not just us, but for, you know, the rest of the city and county employees that aren't here to represent themselves.
Thank you. You like to talk?
No, I'm good.
You like to talk?
I'm okay. My name is Audrey Liang. I'm getting management bully and discrimination all the times since 2013. See, every time, and I'm a Chinese, and then every time I speak in Chinese, the managers comes to staring on me and watching me and look at me with very bad eyes, and then very bad. It makes me like, you know, very.
Mental stress.
Yes, it is. It's a very bad management. But that I've been complaining many times, and then even though to the labor relations, but nobody care.
So does the human labor relations know about this?
Yes.
What you reported?
I reported to them, and then they just not very care about it. The managers still keep doing that for so many times, bullying, discrimination all the time. Every time I'm speaking Chinese, even though the other people speaking different language, they don't care. Like people speaking Spanish or Filipino in the workplace, and then they don't care. Only me speaking Chinese, they come to me.
But there are a large number of Chinese in San Francisco. Isn't this supposed to be non-discriminatory?
Absolutely, but that manager is still there, still doing the same thing.
What department is it?
It's Human Service Agency, Investigation Division.
And this has been reported to Micki Callahan, Department of Human Resources?
Yes.
You think she should be held accountable for this?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to speak? Oh, okay.
Whenever you get time. Yes, you will. I definitely.
Okay. So why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Mallory Branch. What do you want to know? So I am here to stand for the injustice that is going on in the city and county of San Francisco. I was recently released from probation for things unknown to me. I have been not allowed to take lactation breaks. You see my infant child right here during my time that I was with them, and I think that is unjust. It's unfair, it's unethical, and it's not right. And someone needs to be held accountable. I have taken the proper steps. I've talked to management. I've spoken to Micki Callahan. I've sent her a letter. They did not further investigate the things that was going on with me. I've even went on Monday to Civil Service Commission to testify and talk about my situation, and they went with the department. So I am here to stand because this thing is going on. I am one that was released, so there's many people that are afraid to lose their jobs, so they can't all stand at the same time with us. But I am here because you see my family. I have a family that I'm taking care of, and they took the job that I worked very hard to get. I am a native of San Francisco. Go ahead. If you have some questions, I'm willing to answer them.
I mean, you say you reported this to Micki Callahan, Department of Human Resources. The mayor says that she's going to investigate, so there shouldn't be discrimination. You think Micki Callahan should be held accountable for the lack of protection of you and other workers and possible discrimination?
Yes, I think something definitely needs to be done because there is a lot of things going on in the dark that needs to be shined a light on. And like I said, I sent a letter back in November to Micki Callahan describing the discrimination that has happened to me, the retaliation that has happened to me from upper management. And I called and followed up. First I did it monthly, then I did it bi-weekly. Then once I did it weekly, they sent me a letter within 3 weeks of me doing it weekly, calling to follow up with them, and they told me they were closing my claim administratively with no further investigation. That is unacceptable. If there is discrimination going on, it needs to be known. And I was whistleblowing about the discrimination taking place, and nobody did anything for me, and that's unacceptable.
Is that why more people are afraid to come forward and tell the truth because they're afraid they'll be retaliated against?
This is absolutely correct. They are afraid that they will be retaliated against. There's many people in the department that saw things going on with me that were afraid to come forward and stand with me because they were afraid to lose their job.
The city has spent millions of dollars, millions, tens of millions of dollars in discrimination cases. They've bullied, they've harassed, illegally discriminated against workers. The supervisors vote for these. The city attorney supports them. In fact, the mayor, London Breed, knows about them. What do you think about all the money that they're spending in the city and county of San Francisco for illegal discrimination, and no one is being held accountable? I mean, the managers and the executives.
I think that is unacceptable. I think that what they should do is put that money towards some discrimination workshops so that managers can be definitely held accountable. I think that they need to be educated on the proper way to take care of it. That's where the money should be going. If they paid workers like that and they put this into having a better system, then it would be just. And right now it's not. So there are some things that need to take place. Some actions need to happen regarding that, because the money that they're spending on these cases and litigations and legal actions is unacceptable. It's unacceptable.
We're 2018. We have a president who says he's not a racist. He's pro-African American. San Francisco is known as the liberal city, you know, the city that doesn't discriminate. You obviously have a different opinion of what's going on in the city and county of San Francisco.
This is absolutely right. I am a young black woman who is a native of San Francisco. I know what it's like to be on the other side of services. I grew up in public housing. So to go to school, get a bachelor's degree, to go to school and get a master's degree, and then to come work for the community that I was born and raised in, to give back, and then to have my job be taken from me or to run me out, that is unacceptable. And it's definitely discrimination going on here. Definitely. I'm a social worker, a 2940 protective service worker. And I bet you they can't count on one hand how many black social workers that they have in the city and county of San Francisco willing to support the people that know that needs the help. What's going on with our families? All the money they're spending on these litigations and these legal actions, what about the homeless people here? What about the families that are in need of food? What about the families that are in need of shelter? That's where the money should be going. It should be put into the city to help these families that are suffering from these actions. Forgotten communities, they're forgotten. They need to be putting that money into the communities to go help, protect, and serve.
Thank you.
Did you bring that letter, Ms. B?
Where's Cheryl? Right, she should be coming.
Oh, we'll have to put another battery in.
I was so happy. So good at that.
The tree, you don't need it a lot.
At least. You want to...
Name is Sterling. You want my last name too? Okay, well, my name is Sterling. I'm here because I just want to see better treatment of everybody. Everybody treated the same. I work for the city at DPT, Parking and Traffic, big business. And I seen.
Aren't they running the city?
Are we running the city?
Big business.
Well, I mean, you know.
How do you feel discriminated against at DPT?
Well, I feel like there's, you know, when people of color, especially black people, when we do something, we get judged. We get looked at. We get, oh, he's angry. Oh, she's angry. Oh, this, that, and the other. And management just finds ways to get rid of us real quick. They don't find ways to work with us. They don't find ways to deal with the situation. They're just, you know, I've seen several people just get terminated. And I've seen people doing the same stuff of different colors, do the exact same thing, and nothing happened. So it's just like, you know, I want everything to be equal. I want everybody to be treated the same. And, you know, that just needs to happen. And, you know, not only just from management, but from other employees too. You know, if I seen something that was wrong, done against somebody, I'm gonna speak up. And everybody should do that same way. You know, you can't just sit there and be bystanders and watch. In order to have change, everybody's got to stand up.
And is your manager going to be here at this hearing?
Oh, I don't.
So they can be questioned. You think they should be here?
I think anybody who's in a position of power should, you know, even if you're black, white, no matter what color you're at, you should just see so you can see what's going on with the people who are working underneath you.
And this has apparently been going on for decades. It's not
absolutely. You know, my mom, she used to work for Muni, and she went through some stuff too, and you know, it's just something, you know, since before I was born, you know what I mean? So it's just something that, you know, San Francisco, we're supposed to be one of the greatest cities. You know, we're one of the richest cities. You know, we got to become rich in how we treat each other and how, you know, making things equal, you know?
And the city has spent tens of millions of dollars in settlements for illegal activity, bullying of workers, financial corruption, harassing. They spend the money. Why are the supervisors allowing this to happen without any accountability for the managers who are engaged in these illegal activities?
Yeah, to be completely honest with you, I do not know. Like, that's funny you bring that up, because we actually have somebody who's a supervisor at my job, or a senior PCO, and he had all kind of cases at him. He had sexual harassment. He had pepper spray to family.
He pepper sprayed a family?
Yeah, pepper spray to family. I mean, he had 3 or 4 restraining orders against him from other PCOs, and he still has his job to this day. And it's just like things like that. It's kind of like, you know,
Is it above the law?
They call him the Teflon Don, I guess. You know what I mean? But I mean, so far so good. I mean, he still has his job. I mean, and it's crazy because PCOs of different colors have been fired.
What are PCOs?
Parking control officer is what I am, or a meter maid, what people like to call it. But you know, I've seen PCOs, supervisors who've done less, who've been fired and terminated, and things like that needs to change.
Cool. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. You guys have a good day. Okay. All right? Stay cool out here.
Mind that I can speak with. Okay, well,
What's your name?
Evelyn Curiel. I work for SMTA and also the Union Executive Board and San Francisco representative. And the history I got is from the beginning of my husband. He was being harassed and discriminated so that he wouldn't be taken as a permanent employee. And then gone to me, I got accident. I got laid off because they said the cars was total. And I was being denied with promotion and also denied with merit reimbursement because I went to school to promote myself. And then my kids trying to get a training, they were being denied with a training. And then now I'm doing a union. I wasn't get paid. They use my own save money to pay for my own time. And then our department right now is in a stake because they said they don't need our buses on the street, but yet they've been using our buses and help us for not, keeping our overtime and give it to some division.
So there's discrimination.
Discrimination, bullying, and harassment is going on.
And is Micki Callahan? Are they aware of
This one up, yeah.
She knows about
This one up, yep. Because she got all the papers that we have. This is what, for 8 to 10 years already.
Yeah, the mayor.
All of those things back and forth to the our sub-finance offices. And
So the mayor has said that she's going to fix it, but you think the mayor is going to hold Micki Callahan accountable for this? And should she be held accountable?
should you? Yeah, because she is all on top of all of this. And this one's going on for the years before I came and before my late husband. He's passed away already, but I have to speak for these things because it affected everybody, and it's not only me. But, time, just like what he said, time will be paid up. Karma's come to them, so this is it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But our voices are not heard. Our voices are ignored. We are silenced by being ignored as if the racism, discrimination is not there. So we say enough is enough. We are not being ignored anymore. We go to EEO. They come back, they always have, we couldn't find anything. Because as I told Sheriff Hennessy, EEO wants us to fit tightly in the 9 categories of the how they base race and racism, discrimination, and sexual harassment. They want us to fit nicely in those 9 categories. So when they say no, department heads and the departments take on the mentality, nothing is wrong. So go over there and sit down because you were found nothing. They didn't find anything on us. But that is not true. And so we have to change some of these things within the EEO to make us, have a better chance of being heard. Advocates rarely are expressed or seen as experts. We are all advocates. We are all advocates. And we are experts also. And so when we have prudence and speaking around racism and discrimination, retaliation, hostile work environments, blackballing, we should be heard. And not only should we be heard, but we should be taken seriously. Right. Solutions. Some of the solutions centering on community perspectives around hostile work environment, racism, and discrimination. We have to be heard. We have to be part of the conversations. And so this is to my mayor, London Breed, who supports, and she has given a directive to city heads, but we want to be a part of what is going to be going on here in the city and county of San Francisco. We also are saying that it's not only black workers. It's not only black workers. It's all workers. But at the same time, black workers take the brunt of all of the discrimination, the disciplines, the descaling, the low-skilled jobs. The average hourly wage for San Francisco is $34.31. $34.31. That's the average. Most black workers are making lower than that because they are in low-skilled classifications. So again, 68% of them. Thank you, David. And so we are saying, again, as I finish up, the city and county of San Francisco has an unholy alliance, an unholy, which is not right, which does not equal equity, does not equal equality, unholy, unheard of, with black workers here in the city and county of San Francisco, and something must be done. Enough is enough. 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 Power to the people. Power to the people.
All right, our next speaker here today is actually somebody who's born and raised in the city and county of San Francisco, and has lived through what we're talking about, this discrimination, is living through what we're talking about in discrimination. Please welcome up Mallory Branch.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. You guys are here not to turn a blind eye, so I hope this is touched by somebody because something needs to be done. Enough is enough. Now, my main concern is that the discriminatory treatment that I suffered for my race and the federally protected disability status of me. My name is Mallory Branch, and I am a native of San Francisco. Born and raised here, I grew up in public housing, and I know what it's like to be on the other side of services. So when they are taking black workers out from helping the community, that's a problem. I have a bachelor's degree in social work. I have a master's degree in social work. I desired, as an 8-year-old little girl, as the same age as my son here, to come back and serve my community, the lost and forgotten communities of San Francisco. That was my desire. So I became a social worker, and I went to school, and I worked very hard to do that. I left a rewarding job in San Joaquin County to come work for the city and county of San Francisco. I was denied lactation breaks for my infant child, right? So when I get here to San Francisco, not only did I go through the internship, so I was qualified, I knew what I needed to do, but when I got to the job, I experienced targeted bullying, discrimination, and denial of lactation. That is unacceptable. That's like having to go to the bathroom and being denied of going to the bathroom. Everybody knows what that feels like. The supervisor bullied me. She targeted me in upper management. When I sent a letter to Micki Callahan, I received a letter back after following up with them of, we will not further investigate this. We are administratively closing your claim. So my next step was the Civil Service Commission, which I went to this Monday, only for them to go with the department. And their recommendations was to close my claim and keep it closed. So today I am standing here with my brothers and sisters, hoping that somebody hear us and an action needs to be taken. Now let me tell you a little bit about what happened to me. I am a protective service worker 2940, human resources, serving the families of San Francisco. I was coming from a field visit, rear-ended in a county vehicle. I was rear-ended. I suffered injuries. I'm off on medical leave. Do you know they sent me a letter releasing me from my probation? Wow. That's unacceptable. That is unacceptable. They wait till I get injured to send me a release of probation. That's unacceptable. I had 2 weeks left till my probation was up. And had I not been injured, I would have completed my 2-week period.
So this is what's happening. There is discrimination going on. There is retaliation going on. There is overtime that you're doing, and it's being removed from under you. And that is just unacceptable. I desire to give back to the community because I know what it's like not having people give back and being forgotten. I was one of them children. So I went and worked very hard, and I struggled to get a GPA of a 3.98 at a master level, at a bachelor's level. And I think it's just unjust and unfair that they can allow me. I was good enough to go through their internship, but I wasn't good enough to work. That's unacceptable. And enough is enough, and they need to stop this discrimination. And Miss London Breed, if you can do something, please do something. We calling out on you because I do know what it's like growing up in public housing, and I want to serve the community. And I think these people up here, my brothers and sisters that stand with me, want to serve, and they serve. And there's many people that are afraid to come forth because they don't want to lose their job. So enough is enough. And my family is here represented. My children are here because this was important to us as a family, so I kept them out of school because enough is enough, and we're making a stand on today. Thank you.
So as folks can see, we're not just talking about discrimination in theory. This is a reality that our folks are facing on a day-to-day basis. And we have another testimonial that we're going to share right now from somebody who's dealing with it, going through it. Tawanda Bailey, please come up.
Come on, Tawanda, we got you. We got you, Tawanda.
Hi, good morning. My name is Tawanda Bailey. I started working for the San Francisco District Attorney's Office in 2001. Well, in 2015, January, a coworker of mine called me a scary nigger to my face because I ran from a mice. After she called me the scary nigger, I kind of paused, and I just thought to myself, wow, us niggers are scary. So then I walked out of the office, and I walked over to a coworker's cubicle. She saw the look on my face, asked me what happened. I told her what happened. So that particular day, I did not report the incident. Why? Because I was fearful. Because I sat there for 14 and a half years plus and saw what happened to the other African American girls that looked like me when it came to anything pertaining to the individual that called me the scary nigger. So the next day, we had a company party, Christmas party at a restaurant. And a couple of the girls that I had told what happened, they were talking about it. My supervisor came up and overheard the conversation. And one of my coworkers said to her, after she asked what happened, she said, Sarah's, I don't know if I can say her name, called me a scary nigger, called Tawanda a scary nigger. So my supervisor looked at me and said, oh my God, what happened? So I told her what happened, and I specifically told my supervisor that she called me a scary nigger. So she asked me had I reported that incident, and I said no. She said, okay, that's fine. I will report it for you Monday. So, okay, after that, around January 29th, my phone rung at my desk, and it was the Assistant Chief of Finance. She called me to her office. I went to her office. I didn't know what she was calling me in there for because I'm back to Tawanda doing my job, the great job that I've always done since working there. I walked in her office, and the HR manager was sitting there also. The Assistant Chief of Finance and Administration said to me, it was brought to their attention that a slur was said to me. What happened? So I told them what happened, that my coworker called me a scary nigger. Well, the HR manager, she was just sitting there with her legs crossed, you know, taking it lightly. And so they told me, well, we know that you had told other people. We wish you would have told us first. So I said, okay. So I walked out of the office. So February come. No one came to me to say, let's have a meeting, let's discuss this or anything. So I went into the HR manager's office March and asked her for a copy of that report/complaint that they told me in the meeting that they would be taking. Well, once I asked for that report, she became very upset, and she said, well, there's no report. And I said, oh, I thought there would be a report/complaint because my supervisor reported this and you guys called me in the office and asked me what happened and you said you would take the report, statement, complaint, something. So she said, well, there's no report and there's no complaint. Someone say something derogatory to you, you could have just told them, don't say that. And I said, well, okay. And she said, so there's no report. And I said, okay. I said, well, I thought I would be able to get something in writing. And so then she started saying, well, you telling someone else that you were called a derogatory word, you can cause a hostile work environment for that person, meaning the person that called me the nigger, and her work can be messed with. Wow. So I just looked at her and I said to her, I said, I didn't do anything wrong. I was called the scary nigger. And I respect authority. So that's all I said to her, real soft. So she started getting very, very upset, even more upset, asked me did I want her to call the chief in the office and this and that. And I told her, no, you don't have to do that. I'll just do what I have to do. So after that, I told my union rep what happened, and she advised me to file an EEOC complaint. I did that. Then after I filed the EEOC complaint, and after I asked for a copy of the report of me being called a scary nigger at work by a coworker, I was subjected to hostile work environment every day. I was harassed every day. Evaluation came around. They put all these lies in my evaluation. I have been a stellar employee up until the time I was called a nigger, filed the EEOC complaint, and asked for a copy of the report. Now, I continued to go to work. I was suffering. I would take the exit to work. I would feel lightheaded. I would break down crying. I would get lightheaded when I go into the building. I would be crying at my desk. Managers, supervisors, everybody have seen me cry at my desk. Nobody asked me if I was okay except for one time. And so it just began to get worse and worse and worse. And so in August, I was sitting outside the job like I've been doing for over 14 years, waiting for a parking space. And I'm sitting there, it's about 6:30 in the morning, kind of dark, and I see headlights coming my way. And so I looked up and I looked out of my window, and it was the HR manager. And she rolls her window down and she's pointing at me like, you gonna get it. So I looked and I got my phone and I called the chief of finance and I told him, I said, I'm outside sitting in my car waiting for a parking space like I normally do, and the HR manager just drove up giving me threatening gestures. Then I called my therapist and I left a message on her phone. So again, I continued to go to work, and do the great job that I've always done. And mind you, I have never had a bad evaluation. I have never had any complaints. I have never been called in the office and questioned about my job. As a matter of fact, the whole 14 and a half years plus that I've worked there, I've never been late to my job, and that was put in my evaluation. So again, I'm struggling, I'm going to work, and I'm a happy-go-lucky person. Everybody in the office will tell you that. Tawanda is a happy-go-lucky person. I loved my job. I took my job serious. My job was my everything. And so my health kept deteriorating. So here comes December 2015. My doctor took me out of that hostile, toxic work environment. And I have been suffering ever since. I went from taking no medications to 6 medications. It's hard to deal with. I've been traumatized by the city and county of San Francisco. I even tried to go back to work in June. They placed me in a place that I shouldn't have been in, and I got re-traumatized. And the last letter that my doctor wrote to them was to release me out on retirement disability. And now I'm disabled and cannot work. That's how I was treated by the city and county of San Francisco. And again. Me and my union rep met with the city HR also, and they sent me a letter saying that they wasn't going to investigate. They closed it. They didn't. Micki Callahan signed the letter. Then the DA's office, they did no investigation in-house because the HR manager told me that when I went in her office. So absolutely nothing was done about this situation. The individual that called me the nigger is still working. Still working. And this is how they made me feel and how they treated me. So what? You was called a nigger. Keep working, nigger, and shut up. Thank you.
Again, this is what folks are dealing with on a daily basis. We have a few more speakers before we wrap up. One, just to show again, it's not just SEIU and our 17,000 members that we represent in San Francisco, over 54,000 in Northern California, but we're also here with our brothers and sisters from Local 21, and we have the president, Gus Vallejo, who's going to say a few brief words.
Hi, my name is Gus. Actually, my name is Gustavo Jose Antonin de Arce y Vallejo III, but you can call me Gus. And I am a proud son of the Fillmore up here, a native, a 19-year employee with the City and County of San Francisco. But I'm here as president of IFPTE Local 21 and its 10,000 members to speak in support in solidarity with SEIU 1021 on their fight against racism, whether you call it racism, bullying, mobbing, discrimination, implicit bias, explicit bias. It's all the same, and we have to be constantly vigilant and fight against that. And to that end, our executive committee has passed a resolution that I'll read real quickly, and it simply says that we as IFPTE Local 21 stand against any and all forms of discrimination. We support our brothers and sisters in SEIU 1021 in calling on the City and County of San Francisco on eliminating all forms of discrimination. And in closing, I want to thank Supervisor Jane Kim and her co-sponsors, Peskin, Fewer.
Gonzalez is going to say a few words.
The first key in organizing to fight back for justice is speaking up. And I want to recognize the workers who are standing up and speaking out, because people claim ignorance to these issues. And they claim that it's not their experience, or you get into these offices and these complaint departments and we didn't know about it and you didn't tell us about it. Well, we're being told about it, and City Hall knows about it. So let's recognize the workers who are breaking their silence on this issue and putting their livelihoods on the line, not just for themselves and their coworkers, but for their families and for the future workers of the city and county. San Francisco City and County has led on so many issues around health care and wages and protections for workers in our communities, and it continues to lead. And San Francisco elected a mayor with this life experience, and they have an opportunity in this building to lead on this issue.
Right.
We must lead on the issue of fighting back against racism, because like Brother Vallejo said, there are many forms. And my sister here said halo bias, implicit bias, explicit bias. These are all technical legalese words compartmentalized in the Fair Employment and Housing Commission or the EO. They're all ways of compartmentalizing racism. So let's just call it what it is. When workers are treated differently because of the color of their skin, or where they're from, or the neighborhood they grew up in, that's wrong, and we just have to say it. We just have to say that's wrong. So I come from the Labor Council. There's 140 unions representing over 100,000 workers. And when we see this in the private sector, we get out in the streets and we fight. And in this city and county, we're going to be out in the streets with 10 to 1, and we're going to fight on this issue. So you are not alone as you break your silence. We know there's power in numbers. We know there's strength in numbers. We know there's power in a union. And if there ever was a reason to stick with the union and stand shoulder to shoulder with your sisters, brothers, and siblings, this is the issue, and we're here with you. So thank you.
All right, we just got a couple more speakers before the hearing starts at 11 o'clock, but I want to introduce next our executive director of our 60,000 represented workers, John Stead-Mendez.
All right, John, let him have it.
Thank you, brothers and sisters. I'm here today on behalf of those 60,000 workers in our union and our president, Roxanne Sanchez. And thank you, Felicia. Thank you. With a message to anyone who doubts the reach of racism, that thinks that because we are in arguably the most progressive city in America, a city that just celebrated the election of its first African-American woman to the office of mayor, and before that, the first Chinese-American to the office of mayor, and that celebrates the life and legacy of Harvey Milk every single day, that we would be immune from the reaches of racism. I ask that you listen to the voices and the stories of the workers here. You will be compelled to action. You'll be surprised by the depth and the breadth and the pervasiveness of the experience of racism by the workers in the city and county of San Francisco. And so I want to thank Supervisor Kim for giving us the opportunity to make testimony today, to tell those stories, and to all the other city leaders who supported the hearing today. But we can't stop there. We have to get the numbers. We have to get the data, because we know that racism doesn't show up in the form of a hooded Klansman.
Okay, now. All right.
It does not often show up in the form of a jackbooted Proud Boy.
Okay, come on, speak, John.
It shows up in the diligent maintenance of a status quo that tells people of color that they're not welcome here. It's a systemic racism, and it requires a systemic response. And so today is a step forward. Today is a start to addressing this problem, to the fight that must happen to end racism once and for all in the city and county of San Francisco. So I want to thank all the folks that are out here today. We will win. Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
All right, all right. Just want to acknowledge we also have our brothers and sisters here from UHW who is also in support in ending racism in the city and county of San Francisco. I've seen school board member Shaman Walton, who is here somewhere around. I've also seen Chanel Williams, who's a city college board member. And to close us out, I'm going to give it to my brother, Brandon Dawkins, a leader, a chief shop steward, and he's going to share some of his thoughts, his testimony, and then we're going to head up to the hearing, which has just started.
All right, come on, Brandon. Bring us home. Come on, bring us home, brother.
Brothers and sisters, I stand here before you today with my brothers and sisters in solidarity to bring up the unfair treatment of African American workers in our system. But more importantly, I want to touch on the users of the system is the Department of Public Health. Majority are African American, and we don't have enough African American staff that can identify with the users of the services, which are majority of African American. The majority of African Americans that you see when you walk into any given clinic, when you walk into any public hospital in San Francisco, the African American workers are either cleaning something, they cooking something, or they protecting something. But the users of the services, they're African American that walk into these clinics and want to see an African American provider that identifies with their needs, want to see an African American nurse that can identify with their needs, and not just going to tell them anything, give them some drugs and send them on their way.
That's right.
Enough is enough. So I stand here today as an advocate for the users of the system, for the African American patients that walk into these clinics and seek these services and seek these medical providers, and they can't get them because we don't have any African American providers. I have the paperwork right here. It's partial. 25 African American registered nurses in this entire system. That is unacceptable. Enough is enough, and I stand here today with my brothers and sisters in unity, not only to fight with them, but to fight for the users of the services, which are African American. Majority of them are African American. Thank you.
All right, so that can...
Yourself?
I'm Brandon Dawkins. I'm the chief shop steward of Community Public Health Chapter, which includes the clinics, and I'm a worker at Laguna Honda Hospital.
And what is the situation as far as discrimination against African American and other workers at the hospitals?
So right now, there's several things that's going on. Number one, we're not getting hired.
Isn't that discrimination?
That's discrimination. However, it's a multitude of things that's, included when we talk about discrimination. There's a whole myriad of issues. Number one, we're not getting hired. Number two, there's unfair bias in the civil service process where we are actually, there's African-American numbers that are ranked at the top of the list and they don't even get phone calls. Okay. Number three, the African-Americans that they do hire in the system are placed in lower classifications where we're either cleaning something, we're cooking something, or we're securing something. But as far as providing medical services, providing social work services, we're not getting hired for those positions. And DPH's stance is, where there aren't any, we go out and look for those people, but we can't find them. We can't find African-American providers. We can't find African-American nurses. We can't find African-American social workers. And I have this document right here from the city. It's a partial document because they didn't complete the research. However, there's 25 permanent civil service African-American nurses in DPH right now. 25. Do you know how many patients that walk into these doors that are African-American? It's more than a couple of thousand. And 25 African-American nurses, that's unacceptable.
And I understand they fired Teresa Harris, they fired nurses, gotten rid of African-Americans.
They've been firing nurses because they bring up these bogus claims. They're doing something wrong. It's always something wrong. But what wrong are they doing? If we raise our voice in a meeting, you want to write us up for that? It's not anger. It's us acting with emotion because we're sick and tired of seeing our patients being treated that way.
And do you think Micki Callahan, the Director of Human Resources, is aware of what's going on? It seems like it's been going on for decades.
Yeah, Micki knows, but she turned a blind eye.
Why is that?
Who knows? We don't know.
But you've contacted her about these issues?
Yes. Yes.
So her department is aware of this?
Her department is aware. The city is aware. The city is aware.
Well, Mayor London Breed says she's going to hire more people for diversity. Do you think there's going to be any accountability of these managers who are violating the law, illegally discriminating, bullying against city workers, African American or not?
There needs to be accountability. Anybody who's engaging in any discriminatory practices, there needs to be accountability. Those folks need to be fired or reprimanded, or something needs to happen to them.
Do you have confidence that Micki Callahan can make things better? I mean, London Breed, the mayor, has said that she's just going to hire some people and look for more diversity. You think that's accountability for Micki Callahan, the Department of Human Resources?
Absolutely not. No accountability on her.
What should be done?
What should be done is she needs to be replaced because this has gone for far too long under her watch.
So she's aware?
Too long. She's aware.
You think this is part of what's going on nationally with public workers, ethnic cleansing, getting rid of African American, Latino workers in public jobs?
Yes, definitely. You know what I'm saying? From getting rid of us in public service jobs to getting rid of us in the cities. There's only 3% African Americans right now in the city of San Francisco, but there's 46% in the San Francisco County Jail. That's unacceptable.
And what is that about?
They're trying to get rid of us one way or another. They're trying to push us out of San Francisco. They want to push us all to Stockton so we can commute 3 and 4 hours to work a day.
And also there's been, I understand, some issues at the community health centers. Cheryl Thornton was removed from the Potrero Hill Health Center. What's happening? Are they trying to privatize and shut down these health centers?
I sure hope not, because our people needs those services. And if they privatize them, we definitely ain't going to get those services.
I understand they're trying to privatize the pharmacy at General Hospital. That's part of the plan.
My goodness, this is my first time hearing of it, but that's also unacceptable.
I think there needs to be a local and national campaign against privatization and outsourcing of public services.
There definitely needs to. They already privatized mental health services.
How do they do that?
They bring in contractors such as Health Right 360, to name a few. And even with nursing, they bring in registry, because they said that they can't hire enough civil service nurses, but you say you can't hire enough civil service nurses, but there's 25 African-American registered nurses that are permanent civil service, and yet we have a lot more registered nurses that are African-American that's coming through the registry.
So, in other words, they don't want them to be city employees.
Right, right.
And that way they can do what they want with them.
Exactly, exactly.
Is that part of the problem?
That's part of the problem. That's part of the problem. That's abuse.
And privatization, what do you think Mayor London Breed is going to do about that? Because she has Sean Ellsburn, who is the chief of staff. He was involved in attacking the Muni drivers, pushing privatization in San Francisco. You think she's going to continue this drive for privatization in San Francisco?
No, we think that knowing who London is, knowing from where she comes from, and knowing that she comes from that same fabric of the San Francisco, San Francisco Fillmore, where we seen our community just get cleaned up, wiped away of African American people.
Redevelopment out.
Redevelopment. So I would understand. I would think that she would understand where we are coming from, and we would think that she will want to do something about it.
And the shipyard continuing problem of radioactive material being found. Amy Brownell, who works for the Department of Public Health, paid for by Lennar, says that everyone's safe there. Why is Amy Brownell still working for the City and County of San Francisco and the Department of Public Health under London Breed?
I have no idea, but London needs to take care of that.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.